For years, Twista was known as the fastest rapper on earth. But behind the records, the fame, and the applause, he made a decision that shocked many fans. He slowed down, not because he lost his talent, but because he wanted to survive. Long before social media made rappers famous overnight, Carl Terrell Mitchell, better known as Twista, was rewriting the rules of hip-hop with nothing but his voice. Growing up on the west side of Chicago wasn't easy. Violence, gangs, and poverty surrounded him. For many young people, the streets offered only two choices: become part of the violence or find a way out. Twista chose music. As a teenager, he became fascinated with words, rhythms, and rhyme patterns. While most rappers focused on sounding tough, Twista became obsessed with something different: speed. He spent countless hours practicing how to pronounce every word clearly while rapping faster than anyone around him. It wasn't enough to rap quickly. Every syllable had to remain understandable. People thought he was crazy. They told him nobody wanted to hear someone rap that fast. But Twista believed his unique style could become his greatest weapon. In the early 1990s, that belief started paying off. He released his debut album under the name Tongue Twista, becoming one of the first rappers to build an entire identity around rapid-fire delivery. Then something incredible happened. The Guinness World Records officially recognized him as the world's fastest rapper, clocking an astonishing 11.2 syllables per second. It wasn't just a publicity stunt. It was history. Almost overnight, Twista became a legend among rap fans. Yet fame didn't arrive the way many people imagine. Although everyone respected his incredible talent, mainstream success remained frustratingly out of reach. For years, Twista watched other rappers become household names while he was praised mainly for one thing: his speed. Many people admired the skill but overlooked the artist behind it. Instead of giving up, Twista kept working. He released more albums, collaborated with respected artists, and slowly built one of hip-hop's most loyal fan bases. Then, more than a decade after entering the industry, everything finally changed. In 2004, Twista released Slow Jams with Kanye West and Jamie Foxx. The song became a massive #1 hit. Suddenly, the rapper who had spent years fighting for recognition was everywhere. Radio stations played his music non-stop. Television invited him for interviews. Award shows welcomed him onto their biggest stages. For the first time, the entire world wasn't just talking about how fast Twista could rap. They were talking about Twista himself. His album Kamikaze soon became one of the biggest rap albums of the year. Hits like Overnight Celebrity transformed him into one of hip-hop's biggest stars. Ironically, the man famous for moving faster than anyone had spent over 10 years waiting for his breakthrough. Success finally arrived. But success also brought pressure. The music industry wanted more. More albums, more tours, more interviews, more attention, more headlines. Everywhere Twista looked, someone expected him to move faster. But life had begun teaching him something that no record, no award, and no chart position ever could. Being the fastest wasn't always the most important thing. As the years passed, hip-hop changed dramatically. New artists appeared almost every week. Social media transformed the industry. Streaming replaced CDs. Fame became faster than ever before. Many artists felt forced to constantly stay online, chase trends, and remain in the spotlight. Twista watched it all. Unlike many celebrities desperate to remain everywhere at once, he made a different choice. He became more selective. He focused on music he believed in. He spent more time with family. He invested in business and mentoring younger artists instead of chasing every headline. To some people, it looked like Twista had disappeared. But the truth was very different. He hadn't disappeared. He had simply stopped running a race that never truly ends. The man who once built his career on speed had learned one of the hardest lessons in entertainment. Sometimes, slowing down is the only way to protect what matters most. Because fame can be addictive. The attention, the applause, the expectation to always be relevant. Many artists lose themselves trying to keep up. Twista chose something different. He chose longevity. He chose peace. And perhaps most importantly, he chose survival. To younger fans discovering rap today, Twista may simply be remembered as the man who rapped faster than everyone else. But those who followed his journey know his real story isn't about speed. It's about discipline. It's about patience. And it's about understanding that success means very little if it costs you your health, your family, or your peace of mind. The world's fastest rapper eventually discovered something even more valuable than moving quickly. He discovered that sometimes the strongest people know exactly when to slow down. By the late 2000s, Twista had already achieved what most rappers only dreamed about. He had platinum records, Grammy nominations, millions of fans, and a place in hip-hop history. Few artists could match his technical ability, and even fewer had earned the respect he commanded from fellow rappers. But success had taught him something many people never see. The music industry moves fast, sometimes too fast. Every year brought a new trend, a new sound, and a new artist being called the future of hip-hop. Labels expected musicians to constantly reinvent themselves. Fans wanted bigger hits. Social media demanded daily attention. Many artists became trapped in an endless cycle of chasing relevance. Twista watched it happen. He had already spent years proving himself. He didn't want to spend the rest of his life running after every new trend just to stay in the headlines. Instead, he chose a different path. Rather than flooding the market with music, he became more intentional about what he released. He continued recording, performing, and collaborating, but on his own terms. To some fans, it looked like he had faded away. The truth was much different. Twista hadn't lost his passion. He had gained perspective. He understood that being famous wasn't the same as being fulfilled. Throughout his career, he had seen countless artists rise overnight and disappear just as quickly. Some struggled with financial problems after their careers slowed down. Others battled addiction, mental health challenges, or the pressure of trying to remain relevant. Twista wanted something different. He wanted longevity. That meant focusing on life beyond the stage. Over the years, he invested in business ventures, supported community projects, and stayed connected to Chicago, the city that had shaped him. He also continued encouraging younger artists, proving that success wasn't only about breaking records. It was about leaving something meaningful behind. His influence could already be heard across hip-hop. Many of today's fastest rappers openly acknowledge Twista as one of their biggest inspirations. Artists who built careers on rapid-fire delivery followed a path he helped create decades earlier. Even those who never tried to match his speed respected his craftsmanship. He had shown the world that technical skill and clear storytelling could exist together. That legacy didn't disappear simply because he wasn't constantly trending online. In fact, it became stronger. Twista also recognized that life changes with time. The same energy that fuels a young artist isn't always sustainable forever. Growing older taught him the importance of protecting his health, his relationships, and his peace of mind. He no longer measured success by chart positions alone. He measured it by freedom. The freedom to make the music he wanted. The freedom to spend time with loved ones. The freedom to walk away from unnecessary drama. In an industry where many people burn out trying to stay famous, that choice was surprisingly rare. And perhaps that's why Twista's story matters. The world's fastest rapper eventually discovered that the race never truly ends. If you spend your entire life trying to keep up with everyone else, you'll eventually lose sight of yourself. Twista refused to let that happen. He accepted that newer artists would have their moment. New sounds would dominate the charts. Trends would come and go. But originality never expires. His music still inspires listeners who appreciate lyrical ability, creativity, and discipline. His name remains part of every serious conversation about the greatest technical rappers in history. That's a legacy very few artists ever achieve. Looking back, it becomes clear that slowing down wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a sign of wisdom. The man who once amazed the world by speaking faster than anyone else learned that some of life's greatest victories happen in silence, away from flashing cameras and viral headlines. Twista proved that surviving the music industry isn't always about staying in the spotlight. Sometimes, it's about knowing when to step back, protect your peace, and let your work speak for itself. Because records can be broken, fame can fade, but true influence lasts far longer than either. Today, Twista isn't remembered only as the world's fastest rapper. He's remembered as an artist who stayed true to himself in an industry that constantly asked him to become someone else. And maybe that's the greatest lesson his story teaches us. Moving fast may help you reach success, but knowing when to slow down may be what helps you keep it. In today's music industry, Success is often measured by numbers. How many streams did the song get? How many followers does the artist have? How many weeks did the album stay at #1? But Twista's career reminds us that some legacies can't be measured by statistics alone. Years after dominating radio stations and breaking world records, Twista remains one of the most respected lyricists in hip-hop history. Ask almost any rapper known for speed, and there's a good chance they'll mention his name. Not because he was simply fast, but because he showed that speed meant nothing without precision. Every syllable, every rhyme, every breath, Twista made impossible sound effortless. That level of discipline inspired an entire generation of artists. Rappers like Tech-9, Busta Rhymes, Eminem, Logic, and many others have all earned praise for incredible lyrical speed. But Twista helped prove that rapid-fire rap could become an art form instead of just a gimmick. His influence spread far beyond Chicago. It reached every corner of hip-hop. Yet perhaps the greatest part of his story has nothing to do with records or awards. It's about perspective. Unlike many artists who desperately chase attention long after their biggest hits, Twista never allowed fame to become his identity. He understood something that many celebrities learn too late. The spotlight is temporary. Character is permanent. While countless entertainers struggled with scandals, financial collapse, or public meltdowns, Twista quietly continued building a life beyond music. He remained connected to his hometown. He continued supporting younger artists. He invested his time in projects that mattered to him instead of constantly trying to dominate headlines. That choice may not have generated viral news stories, but it earned something even more valuable: respect. In an era where many musicians become famous for controversy rather than talent, Twista's career stands as proof that consistency can outlast hype. He never needed outrageous publicity to remind people who he was. His music had already done that. And whenever conversations begin about the greatest technical rappers of all time, his name still appears. That's not luck. That's legacy. Perhaps that's why younger audiences continue discovering him decades after his breakthrough. One generation introduces another. A father plays Twista in the car. An older brother recommends one of his classic albums. A rapper cites him as an inspiration during an interview. And suddenly, someone who wasn't even born during Twista's biggest years becomes a fan. That's how real influence survives. Not through algorithms. Not through trends, but through people. Looking back, it's easy to understand why Twista eventually chose to slow down. He had already accomplished what he set out to do. He had changed rap forever. There was nothing left to prove. Instead of running endlessly after temporary relevance, he chose something many people overlook: peace. And maybe that's the lesson his journey leaves behind. The world constantly tells us to move faster, work harder, post more, compete with everyone, never stop. But Twista's story asks a different question. What happens if success costs your happiness? Is it still success? The world's fastest rapper eventually realized that life isn't a race against everyone else. It's about knowing what truly matters before it's too late. For him, that meant protecting his family, protecting his health, protecting the passion that made him fall in love with music in the first place. Ironically, the artist who amazed millions by moving faster than anyone else found lasting success by refusing to rush through life. That's not failure. That's wisdom. Today, Twista's name isn't just attached to a Guinness World Record. It's attached to perseverance, innovation, discipline, and authenticity. His story reminds us that greatness isn't always about staying in the spotlight forever. Sometimes, greatness is knowing when to step back while leaving behind something the world will never forget. The world's fastest rapper didn't disappear. He simply discovered that life is bigger than fame.